Hello students, hope you all are doing very well. Okay, so student, today we are going to start the subject GST, that is the goods and service tax. Okay, students, in GST we have two modules. In module number 1 we have total 5 chapters. The name of first chapter shall be Introduction of GST, that is GST in India and Introduction. Second shall be Supply under GST. The third shall be Charge of GST. Fourth shall be Time of Supply, and the fifth shall be Value of Supply. Okay, so in today's class, we are going to start the first chapter, that is the introduction of GST. Okay, let's start. Okay, so open your books, page number 4. First of all, students, I want to ask one thing from you all. Don't you ever think that why government is imposing taxes on us? Okay, so let's discuss about it. Students, basically what we see that in our areas, in mine and in your area, government makes some roads, government build roads, government even nowadays building highways for us, that is the national highways, or government provide the educational services via the mode of government schools, government colleges, and even the government is providing the government hospital, that is the medical services. Okay, so government is providing so much to us. Now the main question comes that the amount which they are spending on these services, the amount which they're spending on these services to provide us in the name of public services, how that amount is how that amount is come to our government, that is what is the source of revenue for our government. So student, the taxes which we pay to our government is the only source, is one of the source of the revenue to the government. And in fact what government is doing, that they take revenue from us in the form of taxes, and they ultimately spend it on the name of public services. Okay, so what is a tax? A tax is nothing but a fee which we pay to our government so that they can utilize it on us by the name of public services. Okay, so I hope now you understand that why government is imposing taxes on us. Okay, now students, just come onto your book. So, a tax may be defined as a pecuniary burden laid upon individuals or property owners to support the government, a payment which is exacted by a legislative authority. It means, student, a tax, first of all, a tax is not a voluntary payment. Have you ever seen that one person is going to the government and said to that, I want to provide some taxes to you, just take it? No, a voluntary payment. Voluntary means a payment which we make from our own will. We doesn't pay the taxes by our own will. It is a pecuniary burden, that it is a compulsory burden. It's not a voluntary payment. Okay, if it is a kind of voluntary payment, it shall be the donation, not a tax. Okay, so student, the legislative authority means our government, which has the legal authorization or the legal power. They take taxes from us, whether it is from individual owners or the property owners, or any kind of taxpayers. Okay, so students, a tax is not a voluntary payment or not a donation, but it is an enforced contribution, because that doesn't depend upon our will that we want to provide tax to the government or not. If the government wants to, if we are going to the criteria of the government to pay the taxes, we have to pay the taxes to the government. It is not our voluntary will. Okay, so in simple words, I can say that tax is nothing but money that people have to pay to the government. Have to pay means that it is not a voluntary payment, but it is a compulsion obligation on the people. Okay, which is used to provide the public services. Now students, taxes are mainly of two kinds. The first kind taxes is, so taxes are mainly categorized into two categories. The first is direct tax, and the second one is indirect tax. Now student, as the name suggests, direct tax means that the burden of payment of tax directly falls on the taxpayer. It means, I'm taking an example here. For example, if there is a person, Mr. A. So, if I'm taking the example of income tax, now student, what is income tax? That the income which Mr. A is earning, he or she has to pay the tax on that income. It means, for example, if Mr. A is earning an income of rupees 10 lakh 50,000, so as per the government criteria of income tax, as per the provisions of income tax, the Mr. A has to pay the tax on his income, that is the rupees 10,50,000. It means the burden is directly shifted to Mr. A because the income is of Mr. A only. That is a kind of direct tax. But in comparison, if I talk about the indirect tax, so student, indirect tax means the burden of tax shifted to another person. Ma'am, how it is possible that the burden of tax is shifting to another person? Okay, let's take an example. So students, what happened? For example, just taking your example, okay, you are going to a mobile shop. Okay, you want to purchase a mobile that is of cost of rupees 10,000. Now, suppose just taking an assumption of the rate of GST. I'm not telling about the exact rate. Exact rate we will learn in the respective chapters only. We will talk about in the respective chapters. Suppose suppose in the mobile phone there is a GST rate of 5%. Just taking an example. Okay, so in addition to 10,000, the shopkeeper obviously charged you that there's a 5% GST on it. So okay, so they will charge you 5% GST. You have to pay the cost of 10,000 plus 5% of 10,000 as GST to the shop owner. Okay, now what is happening? That your 5% of 10,000, shopkeeper will take it. Okay, and the shopkeeper will pay it. Now the shopkeeper will pay it to the government, will deposit this amount to the government. That is the GST government. Okay, that is our government. Now, what is happening? It means that here, in the eyes of government, shopkeeper is paying tax to the government, but this tax is ultimately collected by shopkeeper from his customer. It means the burden of tax and ultimately falls on this customer, that is you, which you pay that 5% of 10,000 to the shopkeeper. But in the eyes of government, shopkeeper is paying that money to the government. Okay, that is why it is indirect tax, because indirectly through the mode of shopkeeper, government is taking the taxes from the customers only. Okay, that is a kind of indirect tax. If it is a direct tax, the person is directly paying the tax to the government, that is the burden falls on the taxpayer only. But here the burden doesn't fall on the taxpayer, burden is ultimately falls on the customer. Okay, I think with this example you can relate, because it is a normal part and parcel of our life that we have to pay the GST to the shopkeeper nowadays, and shopkeeper deposit is to the government. Okay, that is a kind of indirect tax. Now students, so taxes are broadly classified into direct and indirect taxes. Direct tax is a kind of charge which is imposed directly on the taxpayer, which is imposed directly on the taxpayers. Students, take out your highlighters. Okay, I will recommend you that take the highlighters with you, not the pencil or not the pen, and highlight the important words which I am highlighting with that highlighter. Okay, it is going to help you. And students, just for the general knowledge, uh, the marker and highlighter are both different things. Okay, so try to take the highlighter because it will actually catch the attention more. Okay, so a direct tax is a kind of charge which is imposed directly on the taxpayer, and even it is paid directly to the government by the taxpayer only. Okay. Now, a direct tax is one that cannot be shifted by the taxpayer to someone else. Mr. A can't tell Mr. B to that my income is 10,000. My income is 10,50,000, but just pay the tax on that 10,50,000 to government. Can he tell this part to Mr. B? No. So he can't shift his burden to anyone else. Okay. A significant tax which is imposed in India, that is a kind of direct tax, is income tax. Okay, so in our India, the significant kind of direct tax is income tax, because we know income tax is a tax which is directly imposed on the taxpayer only. In comparison, indirect taxes, that if the taxpayer is just a conduit, that is a middle person, that is a way, and at every stage the tax incidence is passed on till it finally reaches the consumer, who really bears the brunt of it. So if that kind of tax is there, it shall be known as indirect tax. Now what does it mean? So students, it ultimately means that the taxpayer, that is a shopkeeper, takes the shopkeeper takes a tax from the customer and pays to the government. That is, the incidence of tax is finally borne by, or the finally is beared by, the borne by only and only the customer, not the taxpayer. Okay, just this is the thing here. Now, an indirect tax is one that can be shifted by the taxpayer to someone else. That is, in your case, shopkeeper shifted the tax burden to you. That is the customer of mobile. Okay. Now, its incidence is borne by the consumers who ultimately consume the product or service, while the immediate liability to pay the tax may fall upon another person. That is, in our example, you are required to pay the tax, but the immediate liability to pay the tax, that is, who is the person who is liable in the eyes of government to pay the tax to the government, is a shopkeeper. Okay. Now, student, GST tax is also known. GST, that is the goods and service tax, is also known as consumption taxes. Okay, so just highlight it with the highlighter, or if you do not have highlighter this time, so you can highlight it with your pencil, and later on you can go to the market and purchase the highlighter. Okay. Now, student, direct tax is always progressive in nature. Direct tax is progressive in nature. Just write it in your register, which I have told you to keep a register with you in the intro class of our lecture. And indirect tax is regressive in nature. Now, sir, what will be the way to write it in your register shall be that just do one thing, take out your books, okay, and in this part, that is, do one thing, that on this, for example, the direct tax is progressive in nature. Okay, so just just take a arrow in it and write down that page 1, that is, on page number 1 of your register you have write something about the progressive nature about this line. Okay, otherwise what shall be done, that you will be get confused that which part is in our register or which part is in our book. Okay, so just do these kind of things from the starting of the chapter. Okay, so students, the direct tax shall be progressive in nature, and indirect tax shall be regressive in nature. Okay, you can write the complete, that is regressive in nature. Now, student, what does mean by progressive? Progressive means that if a person has higher income, the person have to pay the high amount of taxes. Students, as I say that it is a direct tax. So what happening in it that the government actually, if you already read about the income tax, you must know about it. If someone has do not do their part of income tax just yet, so do not worry, I am telling you here also. Okay, so what happening in it, that just said that, okay, if a person is earning up to rupees 2,50,000, that is up to rupees 2.5 lakhs, that person is not required to pay any kind of tax. That is, it shall be nil tax liability. Then they said it, okay, if a person is earning more than rupees 2.5 lakhs, but up to 5 lakhs only, so a person has to pay the 5% of amount. Now, suppose if a person is earning, that is 2.5 to 5 lakhs, so if a person is earning 3 lakh rupees, so it means that person is required to pay, that is, up to 2.5 lakhs, the person is required to pay nothing. So 2.5 lakhs, up to 2.5 lakhs, there shall be no nil liability. Then 2.5 to 3 lakhs, that is more than 2.5 lakhs, but up to 3 lakhs, it shall be 5% of amount. So students, from 2.5 lakhs, that is 2 lakh 50,000 to 3 lakh, there is an amount of 50,000. Okay, so on 50,000, you are required to pay 5% of amount. That is 50,000 into 5%. It means, student, the person who is earning higher kind of income, they have to pay higher amount of taxes. For example, if suppose the next person is earning 4 lakh rupees as income, so that person is required to pay high amount of taxes, because up to rupees 2.5 lakh, the person is required to pay nothing. But from 2.5 to 4 lakh, that is, there is a difference of this between the income of 1,50,000, the person is required to pay 5% of amount. So it means person who is earning higher amount of income, higher amount of income has to pay higher amount of income tax, and the person who is earning lower amount of income, that is 3 lakh only, the person is required to pay lower amount of taxes. It means progressive in nature, because with the progress in income, the taxes are also progressing. That is, the taxes are also increasing. Okay, so there's a difference of tax rate also. Okay, as student, the person who is earning from 5 lakh to 10, 20, from 5 lakh to 10 lakh, this shall be the different tax slab, and that is all. Okay, and as concerned with our syllabus, indirect taxes. Indirect taxes is regressive in nature. Why it is regressive in nature? So just take an example. Friends, suppose two persons are going into a shop to purchase the mobile phone. First of all, it is Mr. Ambani, that is the CEO of Reliance Industries. Okay, they want to purchase a mobile phone of rupees 10,000. Okay, in comparison, uh, Mr. Mr. Amit is also going, a normal person, a common man is also going to the shop, and he also want to purchase a mobile phone of 10,000. Now student, the both Mr. Ambani, that is CEO, Chief Executive Officer of, and I can say the owner of Reliance Industries, also have to pay the required amount of GST. For example, if the rate is 5% on mobile phone, 10,000 into 5%, and showing the same amount of tax shall be paid by Mr. Amit also, that is 10,000 into 5%. So it is regressive in nature. It means income of person does not vary the tax rate of the goods and services. Okay, so it shall be regressive, and direct tax is progressive in nature. Now student, I am expecting this question into your multiple choice question also, that whether direct tax is progressive or regressive. So always keep in your mind, direct tax is progressive and indirect tax is regressive, that is equal for all. Okay, now student, indirect tax is also known as, that is GST is also known as consumption taxes, because ultimately that person have to pay, person have to bear the brunt of taxes who is consuming the product, who is using the product. Okay, now students, indirect taxes are levied on consumption, on expenditure, on privilege, that is getting any benefit or right. But indirect tax does not levy on income or property. Because for income, there is a different kind of tax, that is income tax, and for property, different kind of tax, that is property tax is there in our India. Okay, property tax is not in our syllabus, but income tax is in our syllabus. Okay, now students, before 1st July 2017, in indirect taxes, there are a number of taxes. For example, student, the person who is selling some goods to other person, on that person, the person has to be a, if this is interest rate, that is the person in selling the goods to the person who is in the same state, so there shall be VAT, value added tax. Person who is doing interstate sale, that is one person, the person of one state is doing the sale to another state, that person has to charge CST, central sales tax. The person who is providing services has to charge from the service recipients service tax. And there shall be lot of kind of taxes. For example, on lottery, there was tax on lottery, tax on betting, gambling, that kind of tax. But student, on or after 1st July 2017, there is actually a paradigm, that is a great shift in our indirect tax system, because students, now all the previous taxes are abolished and only a single taxes prevail in our India, that is GST, which is known as goods and service tax. Now students, before this paradigm shift, what was happening, that if a person is supplying goods, there is a different kind of tax, VAT or CST. VAT is on intrastate and CST was on interstate. On service, the person who is providing services has to charge service tax. But now student, there is a paradigm, there is a very great shift, because now for both goods and services there is only a single tax, which is known as GST. As the full form of GST is goods and service tax. Okay, so the person who is providing either goods or providing either services, both have to charge only and only GST, that is goods and service tax. Okay, now on which date this paradigm shift has been come into the market, that is on 1st July 2017. Okay, so your examiner might ask you in the multiple choice question part that what is the date of that paradigm shift. So that is 1st July 2017. Okay, I have also write this date into your books also. So students, here it is written that however indirect tax in India witnessed a paradigm shift on July 1, 2017. Okay. Now the things which I have told you while the way of explanation I have also write it here. Okay. Now students, ultimately what happens is that in India, indirect taxes also contain two kind of taxes. The first of all is GST and the second is custom duty. Custom duty is levied on the part of import export, not on the part of our not on the part of the domestic sales. Okay, now student, the custom duty part is on import export, that is that is a sale or purchase with the foreign country. The custom duty is in your final level, not at your intel level. Okay, so no need to worry about that. That is also very simple, but we will read it in final level. Okay, now students, as I already told you, indirect tax burden of tax is borne by person himself, but in indirect tax burden of tax is shifted to another person. Okay, so, so before starting that what are the features of indirect taxes, I want to clarify one thing. Students, normally we get confused between that if examiner asks us about that write down the features of anything. For example, they are talking about write down the features of indirect taxes. We normally think in our mind that the features mean we have to write about the advantages of indirect taxes. But student, they are not asking about the advantages or benefits of indirect taxes. No, they are simply about the features, that is the characteristics of indirect taxes. Okay, so just do not get confused between the two words in your any subject, because the features are the different part and the advantages mean that they are asking only about the benefits of indirect taxes. Okay, so they are talking about features, not advantage. Clear? So just start with the features of indirect taxes. So the very first feature of indirect taxes is that it is an important source of revenue to the government. Because students, every person is going to the market to purchase anything, and if they are purchasing something, they have to pay the GST. That is, the GST is even students the complete indirect tax. Yes, the very important part is they are asking about the features of indirect taxes. It means they're asking about the features of both the taxes, that is the GST as well as custom duty. Ma'am, is there any change? It means we have to learn about the custom duty also. No, you do not have to learn or read about the custom duty. Just keep into your mind that, that the answer should be in the way which is asking by the examiner. It means if the examiner is asking about the features of indirect taxes, so while writing the answer, just write the words indirect taxes, not the GST, because the features of GST shall be the features of indirect taxes also, but do not use the only word GST. Just use the word which the examiner is asking, that is the indirect tax. Okay. First is that it is an important source of revenue to the government. In fact, students, in our India, indirect taxes contribute more than 50%. It contributes more than 50% of the total tax revenue which is taken by the central or state governments. Okay. Second is the indirect tax always levies on the commodities and services, because students, whether it is GST or whether it is custom duty, indirect taxes are levied when there is a supply of goods, that is we can known as commodities, or when there is a supply of services. Okay, if it is an international supply, there shall be custom duty. If it is a domestic supply, there is a GST. Okay, so it is tax on commodities and services. We also know the indirect taxes. The complete indirect taxes at the commodity taxation also. Okay. It is also levied on the provision of services, but for the commodity part, we also known as a commodity taxation. Now students, the very important next feature of indirect tax, that in indirect tax, there is a shifting of burden of the tax to another person. As the shopkeeper has shifting his burden of tax to you while you are going to purchase the mobile from that shopkeeper. Okay, so you can do it. Okay. Now students, all the points which I have told you with the way of explanation, I have also mentioned all those points into your books also. Okay, that will be helpful for your revision. Now the next point is, now students, when you go to the shopkeeper, generally what they do is, nowadays generally what they are doing is that they write it as the complete cost, that is the MRP of any product. For example, if I'm going to purchase this pen from the market, they normally write it as that okay, the MRP is rupees 70. They do not differentiate. In fact, the company from which this pen is but this pen is manufacturing, they do not differentiate that in 70 the 65 is for uh, 65 is for the cost of the product, and the 5 is for GST. What they normally do is they write it as MRP inclusive of GST. They normally do it in this way now. Okay, in fact, you can even take the packet of a Maggie, or you can even take the packet of a ketchup. They also do the same thing. Okay, it means when you are going to purchase the packet of that Maggie, you do not feel that okay, I am also paying the GST to the shopkeeper. No, because you normally take it as okay, its MRP is this. For example, if its MRP is 12 rupees per packet. Okay, so there is no perception of direct page. Since value of indirect taxes is generally inbuilt in the price of the commodities, most of the time we doesn't feel that we are actually paying the GST or any kind of tax to the government. Okay, so the taxpayer, that is me and you, does not perceive a direct pinch while paying the indirect taxes. Okay, now I think and next time we are going to purchase the Maggie packet, might be you are thinking that okay, we are also paying GST. Okay, but on every product we are paying GST. Next is inflationary. Inflationary means, student, that is, now we know if government is imposing GST on any good or services, it means what actually the shopkeeper is doing, that suppose taking the same example of mobile phone, before the kind of any indirect tax you are required to pay only rupees 10,000, but now the person is required to pay 10,000 plus 5% of 10,000 at GST. It means the indirect taxes are a cause of inflationary trend in the price of any commodity or services, because now the taxes also added in their prices. Okay, so it is a kind of inflationary. That's why I said that features does not mean only advantages. Features mean the characteristic overall feature of that product. So tax imposed on commodities and services causes an all-round price spiral. It means all-round price increasing. Okay. The next is wider tax base. Now, students, if I compare the tax base of direct tax and indirect tax, uh, that is what is the most of the taxpayers are whether paying the direct taxes or indirect taxes. So, students, direct tax is based on the income of a person. Even I told you that a person who is having an income of up to rupees 2.5 lakhs, they do not have to pay, they do not require to pay income tax to the government. But students, in comparatively, indirect taxes, every person is paying the indirect taxes while purchasing any goods or services. It means for indirect taxes, the base tax base is wider in comparison of direct taxes, because most of the products have including the indirect tax, that is a GST in that product. Okay. So, student, unlike direct taxes, the indirect taxes have a wide tax base. Unlike direct taxes means direct tax does not have a wider tax base, because there is a limited number of persons who are actually paying the income tax to the government. But majority of the products or services are subject to the indirect taxes with the limit of thresholds. Okay. The seventh part is, students, okay, let me tell you a uh, very interesting topic. Students, you know what are the harmful products for our health? Obviously, I know you must have a consideration of this point, that there are kind of harmful products. For example, which we also known as sin goods. Why we are knowing as sin goods? Because it uh, it actually damages us in a very hazardous way for our health. Okay, we know health is wealth. For example, alcoholic products or tobacco products or any kind of these products. So, students, now what is happening, that normally what government is doing, that students, in on these products which are very harmful for our health, government is imposing very high rate of taxes on these kind of products. So, student, in this way, for example, if a person is going to purchase any kind of product which is very harmful for his health, Now he knows that on this product he has to pay 28% as GST, just taking an example. So before purchasing that product, the person must have a thought in his mind that now the product which is of 100 rupees, the person is now required to pay 128 rupees for that. So when the price will get increased because it is a harmful product, so government imposes high rate of taxes on that product. So in this way it also promotes social welfare, okay, because it is a welfare for our society that persons tend to purchase those harmful products in a lesser manner, okay. Students, in fact, does not only check their consumption, but it also acts as the state to collect substantial revenue. Now, for 28%, that is, even when the person is, even now the person is even purchasing that product, the 28 rupees shall be the revenue for the state government. Okay. Now, how it will be a revenue for a state government and in what conditions it will be revenue for a central government, we will talk about it, but in a later lecture. Okay. The last but not the least feature, which we have already discussed, that it is regressive in nature. It means whether the person is the poor or the middleman or the rich, they have to pay the same rate of direct taxes on certain commodities of mass consumption. Okay. Next is on which date GST has been launched in India. So students, already told you that GST has been launched on 1st July 2017 in our India. Before the student, there was a multiple kind of taxes in our India. For example, VAT, CST, luxury tax, entertainment tax, entry tax. But now all taxes have been subsumed, that all taxes have been merged into a single tax, that is GST. Now students, even the GST model is of two kinds. First is you are not required to make this chart. Just I'm making this chart just for your knowledge purpose, and even if you want, you can make this also. Okay, so that totally depends upon your will. GST model is of two kind of models. First is single model, single GST model. Okay, student, do one thing. Just make it in your books. Okay, because as per my, because I'm thinking, I have read somewhere that 2 to 3 attempts ago, this question come to the CA final examination. So might be they also ask this question into your inter examination. Okay, so make this chart also. Dual GST model. Single GST model means, students, that only there is a single government, that there is only a single government which imposes taxes in the kind of indirect taxes. It means only there is a single government who is taking the revenue of the taxes. Now, dual GST model is that which is also prevails in our India. So in India, which kind of model is there? In India, dual GST model is there. It means, student, that both the government, whether it is central government and whether it is state government, both the governments are taking revenues, okay, in the nature of CGST, SGST. I will tell you how they both are taking the revenue, but so in fact both governments are taking the revenue. That's why it is known as dual GST model. For example, if a GST rate of a product is 18%, so it means, students, the 9% is taken by the central government and 9% is taken by the state government. Okay, good. So under dual GST, GST is levied by both the federal and the state governments. Even in India, India too has adopted a dual GST. Okay, they can also ask this question into your multiple choice question part or into your theoretical part for 2 marks. That in India, what kind of GST model is there? Okay, so in India there is a dual GST model because both our governments are imposing taxes on us. Okay. Next is basic concepts of GST. Now, students, before this, we have talked about the features of complete indirect taxation. Okay. Now, it is kind of that what is the basic concepts of GST. So, student, GST is basically a value-added tax. Now, why it is known as value-added tax? Okay. So, student, what is happening in the GST is, I'm making an example for you guys. Suppose there is a person, Mr. A, who is a manufacturer. Next, there is a person, Mr. B, who is a wholesaler. Then there is a person, Mr. C, Who is the retailer? Retailer who purchases the goods from the wholesaler. Wholesaler who purchases the goods directly from the manufacturer. Okay. And then there is a person, Mr. D, who is ultimately consumer. That is the customer. Now, students, for example, the cost of the product which A manufactures is rupees 100. Now, if on this product there is a GST rate, student, GST rate varies from products to products. On every product there is a different kind of GST rate, okay, which tells by which is actually tells us by a government. In our syllabus, we are not required to learn all the GST rates because there are the lakhs of GST rates which we can't learn. Okay, so there is no need to learn the GST rates. That is why I always take an example for the GST rate. That is on assumption basis. So if on this product, while selling this product by manufacturer to wholesaler, Mr. A charges 10% of the actual cost of this goods from Mr. B. Okay, so they charges 10%, that is 10. So it shall be 110. It means Mr. B has paid to Mr. A rupees 110. Okay, so Mr. B has paid actually rupees 110 to Mr. A. Now what happened? That Mr. B Mr. B knew the fact that the actual cost of the product is 100 rupees. Okay, what will happen to this GST part? We will talk it about later. Now they know that 10%, that is rupees 10. I have paid it to the Mr. A only as GST. Okay, so just keep it separate. Talking about the actual cost of the product, Mr. A sold this product in 100 rupees to Mr. B. Okay, so Mr. B thinks that okay, I also want to add some profit margin. My profit margin as 100 rupees I have paid to Mr. A. Now I'm adding some profit margin on it. That is, I'm adding the value of that product into it. For example, he keeps 5 rupees as his uh, profit margin. So now the cost of the product is 105. Okay, we all know that there's a 10% GST rate on it. It means now now Mr. B is totally charging rupees 110.5 from 1 minute, students. So now he's charging 110.5 from the Mr. C, that is the retailer. Okay. Now students, we know that it is a kind of value added tax. Why it is known as value added tax? Because before this part, manufacturer only actually costed to the 100 rupees, but now wholesaler added his profit margin, and now on the actual cost which Mr. A has sold to them plus his profit margin, he charges the GST on this complete part, that is value added tax. Okay, now student, what will happen is that what will actually happen is that why have not considered this part of GST, and that is 10% here while filing the GST return. GST return means that while filing the summary to the government that how much I have paid to the GST, how much I have collected it from, what will happen is, suppose now Mr. C also wants to sell this part to the Mr. D. While filing the GST return of Mr. B, what will happen that Mr. B will told to the government that I have collected total rupees 10.5 from Mr. C as GST, which I am required to pay to the you. But let me complete my point, sir. What will happen that I have collected 10.5 rupees from Mr. C as GST, but in this from this 10.5 I have already paid on even on the same product rupees 10 as GST to Mr. A, which he must have paid to you. It means students, now he Mr. B is not required to pay the complete 10.5 to the government as GST revenue. No, what will happen is that he will take the credit. Now what is input tax, students? When Mr. B is purchasing some product from Mr. A, that product is an input for Mr. B because it is a purchase input that comes to Mr. B. Okay, so student, it means that on that purchase part, the tax which he has paid to the Mr. A input tax, now student, he can take the credit. Credit means he can adjust that input tax while paying his outward tax liability. Okay, so input tax means the tax which he has paid on the purchase part. Outward tax liability, output tax liability means the tax which he has charged from the customer while he is doing the outward sales. Okay, so he ultimately will provide only zero point 0.5 rupees to the government, because that is 50 paisa to the government, because actually 10 rupees has been paid by Mr. A to the government, and the balance from complete 10.5, the balance 0.5 shall be paid by Mr. B only. Okay, that's why student, the complete process is known as value added tax, because ultimately what we are seeing in that this ultimately the 0.5 is a tax which is subsumed on the value added. Okay, not on the complete part he has provided to another tax to the government, no, only on the value added part. Now the person is required to pay tax. Just look at it. What is the kind of value added here? It is 5 rupees. Okay, the rate was 10%. Now see what is happening, that ultimately the person is paying only on this 5 rupees, the 10% of this 5 rupees, that is 0.5 to the government. That is a value added taxes. Okay, I hope this example is clear to you, students. If in any case you are not understanding this example, or some queries are revolving into your mind, so just do not carry forward with this lecture. Just pause this lecture on to this time and ask your queries, and after that continue with your lectures. Okay, because it is a foundation of your subject. If the foundation shall be weak, the building shall also be weak, which I do not want. Okay, so I'm always available for your queries. You can take your queries anytime. Okay. Next is, students, that it is a continuous chain of credit. Now what is a continuous chain of credit? Continuous chain of credit means, student, as I have told you, wait students, the continuous chain of credit means, now what is happening, that for example, now the Mr. B sell that products into the 110.5 to Mr. Retailer, that is Mr. C. What will happen? For example, on this 110.5, Mr. C has also added his profit margin as rupees 10. So the complete part shall be 120.5, which is going to charge from the customer. Okay. Now on 120.5 there shall be 10% GST rate. So the rate shall be, just take out your calculator, student, because I'm not going to write it on an examination. So make a habit, develop a habit to take your calculator and do these calculations in it. Okay, so 120.5 into 10%, that shall be 12.05. So suppose, it means what is happening now, that is the person, the Mr. Retailer, while selling this product to Mr. D, he will actually take rupees 120.5 plus 12.05, that is 132.55 from the customer. Okay, now what will happen, that while filing GST return of Mr. C, he will show to the government that, okay, just wait, I am required to pay you the amount of 12.05 as GST. That is, on 120.5, I am required to pay 10% as GST, which I have collected from my customer. So I have collected from my customer, that is Mr. D, the total amount of GST as 12.05, which I am required to deposit it to you. But sir, let me explain to you what I have done, that I have purchased these goods from Mr. B, and while purchasing I have already paid to Mr. B 10.5 as GST, which he must have paid to you. Now what will happen? So it is saying, from complete 12.05, I have already paid 10.5 to Mr. B, which Mr. B have deposited to you. Now, I am paying only the balance amount to you now. Okay, so it means, student, that there is a continuous chain of credit. It means the person, whether it is Mr. B or Mr. C, the person who have already paid the input tax while purchasing the products, or while receiving the services, they are eligible. They are eligible to take the credit on that part. Taking the credit means, continuous chain of credit means that the amount of GST which they have paid to their supplier while they have purchased something from this, it is available as credit to them. That is, they can take the adjustment of it. Okay, that is continuous chain of credits. So second is continuous chain of credit. Third is burden borne by final consumer. It means, when that what will happen, Mr. A sale that product to Mr. B, then Mr. B sale that product to Mr. C, Mr. C sale that product to Mr. D. Mr. D is actually the final consumer here. Now what happened? That the GST amount which is paid by Mr. B to Mr. A, he has already taken the input tax credit of it while filing his GST return. We have also seen this in the example. Same point, same thing has done by Mr. C, that he collect 12.05 as GST from his customer, but he told to the GST department that I have already paid rupees 10.50 as GST to Mr. B, so I am adjusting that part to here. Now student, this Mr. D has paid the completed full part of 12.05 to Mr. C, who is a retailer. But as he is final consumer, he is not going to sell that product to anyone else. He has to burn the complete burden of that tax. Okay, because it means the complete 12.05 is paid by Mr. D only, because all others have taken the input tax credits of that. Okay, so indirect taxes in GST, the burden is borne by final consumer only. Okay, I've already told you with the help of an example, and student, I've already I also write these lines into your books also. Okay, there is no cascading of taxes. Now, what is mean by cascading of taxes? So, students, cascading of taxes means that, as we have seen, no cascading of taxes. It means there is no double taxation here. It means, students, as we know, at every part only the value added has been taxed. That is in our example, if a person is going to add his marginal value as his profit as rupees 5, so he's just required to pay, he actually is ultimately required to pay the tax on that 5 rupees only, because he's taking the credit of balance part. Okay, so there is no double taxation here. It doesn't mean that if a person is going to sell it into 115 rupees or 120 rupees, he has to pay the tax on the complete part. No, he can take the credit of the balance part. That means when there is no cascading of taxes. Okay, so since only the value added at each stage is taxed under GST, there is no tax on tax. It means there is no tax on tax, means there is no double taxation here. And no tax on tax means, student, that suppose Mr. A has a gift that product to Mr. B in rupees 110, that is 100 rupees plus 10% GST. Now Mr. B is not required to pay the tax on complete part, that is on 110. No, what he will do, that he will take the credit of the balance part and he will actually pay the GST only on the value added part. Okay. Austrian, there is cascading of taxes under GST. GST does not differentiate between goods and services, and thus two also are rated at a single rate. This is one of the most important lines of a GST. Students, before 1st July 2017, what was happening, that for supplying of goods there was a different whole kind of tax which is known as VAT, value added tax. Value added tax is actually levied on the intrastate supplies. It means the supply is in the same state, intrastate. For interstate there was CST, central sale tax. Okay, now students, suppose if Mr. A is providing, suppose friends, if Mr. A is supplying any kind of goods to Mr. B, okay, he charge VAT from it, that is a value added tax. Suppose he supplied that product in for rupees 100 to Mr. B and he charged 10% as VAT, that is his, that he charged 110 total for Mr. B. Okay, now student, what is happening, that Mr. B is supplying some kind of services to Mr. C. Okay, so what was happening, that Mr. B is supplying these services for rupees 120 and he's charging rupees 10% as the service tax, because on service before 1st July 2017 there was service tax. Okay, so he's actually taking the 120 to 10%, that is the 12 rupees from Mr. C. So student, if this is a part of the GST, so if this is a situation of GST, what will happen, because when GST, while filing the GST return, department does not ask about it, that okay, if you are taking the credit of product A, you can only take the credit of product A, not of product B. No, they have we are actually required that we actually give the complete amount of GST which is payable to us by the government, and the GST which we have actually paid while the purchasing part. Okay, we can adjust that, we can adjust that part. Okay, so that is the total part they have taken. But so now what is happening, as for goods there's a different part, and for service tax there is a different part. So while filing the GST return, Mr. B can't say that okay, I am required to pay rupees 12 to you government, but while purchasing a product I have already paid rupees 10 to the Mr. A, so I'm paying only balance part of rupees 2 to now. No, he can't do this, because student, for goods there is a different kind of tax which is VAT, and for services there is a different kind of tax, service tax. So they do not adjust these two kind of taxes from each other. But now student, either it is goods or either it is services, there is only a single kind of tax, GST. So student, they can adjust it from each other. Okay, as I told you, what is happening while we are filing the GST return, they find about the total amounts. That is, for example, if it is a monthly GST return, so they ask about that in complete month of April, how much amount, you are collected from your customer as GST, and how much amount, total amount, you have already paid it to your supplier. Okay, so that was ITC, and that shall be the payable amount. We can adjust it from each other. Understand? Okay. Now student, with this part, the basic concepts of GST has already been done. Now the next part is that why there is a need for GST in India. So students, we all know why there is need of anything in anything in our world. We know that in the previous system there was some deficiencies. That's why we have taken out the complete different system. For example, student, if I said you that I have purchased this mobile, okay, now why I purchased this mobile, so it must that in my old mobile there was some deficiency or there were some limitations. Now okay, it doesn't have modern features or any kind of this. That's why I have taken this mobile, or anything. For example, if I said that why I have taken this pen, so, most probably that in my previous pen, it there was some deficiency or there was some ink leakage or any kind of that part. Okay, so when there is a deficiency in something, that's why the new thing has arrived to the world. So in the similar way, why there is need for GST in India, so its answer is because in the earlier system there was some deficiency. We are required to write down that what are those deficiencies. Okay, so let's start with it. First deficiency, as I already told you in the latest example, that in the previous system there was double taxation. Why there was double taxation, student? Because for goods there was CST or VAT, and for services there was a service tax. Okay, student. So there was a complete distinction between the goods and services, which actually often blurred. For example, student, what happened that if a person in the previous system, if person has purchased a software from any company, so student, while the company is paying software to the recipient, for the software part, it means company is providing goods to the person, so they have to charge VAT. If it is an intrastate sale or if it is an interstate sale, they charge CST. And as they are providing software to the service, providing software also comes under the category of services. As it comes under the category of services, so they also charge service tax. It means when there was double taxation in the previous part, but now goods and services treated equal. Okay. Next is students, that in the previous part, Senvet did not include chain of value addition in the distributive trade below the stage of production. It means what was happening, students. Actually, what happened that if any person has do, if any person, for example, Mr. A has purchased some products, some goods, some raw materials from Mr. B. Okay, Mr. A was from Tamil Nadu and Mr. B was from Maharashtra. Okay, it means it was an interstate sale that Mr. B has done the interstate sale to Mr. A, because the person of Maharashtra is supplying to Tamil Nadu. That is the location of supplier and the place of supplier in different states. So student, it means there was CST. For example, Mr. B has charged CST, that is the central sale tax, because it was an interstate sale of rupees 100 from Mr. A. Okay. Now student, Mr. A sold these goods to Mr. D, who is also of Tamil Nadu. It means now it is an interstate sale, as Mr. A has provided these goods to Mr. D, who is also in the same state. So Mr. A is charging here value added taxes from Mr. D. For example, he has charged rupees 120 from Mr. D. Now, students, CST is governed by different provisions of central sale tax. VAT is governed by the provisions of value added taxes. So, Mr. A does not say it to the government that I have collected 120 from my customer, that I am paying only and only rupees 20 to you, because 100 rupees I have already taken it as input tax credit because I have paid this part to Mr. B. They can't do it because both are the different kind of taxes, so both are governed by the different provisions of taxes. Okay, both are handled by the different legislative authority. But now what will happen, even if it is an interstate sale, that is Mr. B has provided has done interstate sale to Mr. A, he must have charged GST only. And when Mr. A has supplied Mr. Goods to Mr. D, he have also charged GST only. Okay, so in the current part they can adjust this input tax credit. It means now in the current part Mr. A is only required to pay 20 rupees to the government. Okay, so in previous system there was cascading, no, double taxation was there. Okay, I have also provided this illustration into your books also. So students, it means the specifically the CENVAT did not include chain of value addition, because for central sale tax there was CST and for intrastate there was VAT. Okay, now we know that though Senate and state level VAT were essentially value added taxes, both are the value added taxes only, because they are providing taxes only on the value addition part. But even in that case, credit of another, taking the credit of another was not possible, because both are governed by the different provisions. Okay, as the central sale tax was a central levy and this VAT was a state levy. Okay, now in the previous system there was numerous kind of taxes. For example, on lottery there was a lottery tax, on luxury part there was a luxury tax when we go to the PVR or that kind of taxes. There was an entertainment tax in PVRs. Okay, if we purchase some luxury product there's a luxury tax. If we are purchasing the goods there's a CST or VAT. If we are receiving the services there was service charge. But now all the taxes were subsumed in one GST only. Okay, that is the goods and service tax. Now students, already told you about this tax also, that this deficiency also, that VAT on goods was not integrated with tax on services, because on services there was a service tax and on goods there was a VAT or CST. So student, even in that case there was a double taxation. Okay, and so with this part, what is the deficiency here, that with service sector being the fastest growing sector in the economy, the exclusion of services from the tax base of the states potentially eroded their tax buoyancy. Now what was happening, student, that actually what was happening is that service tax is under the control of the central levy. Okay, because student, service tax, even if the person is providing services at intra-state level, that is within the same state, they have to charge service tax. If they are providing services at interstate level, they have to charge the service tax. It means, students, service tax was governed by the central levy, but students, it means the revenue of that service tax is not in the hands of the state government, because state governments are charging only the VAT. They have only the revenue of VAT part, not the service tax part. The revenue of service tax was in the hands of central levy. Okay, so that was also a deficiency. Now, the deficiencies of all the parts are same with the connection of an example, that is the CST, VAT, and now what is happening in the GST. But the writing of that is in different manner. Okay, so normally students, if they are asking about it, why there is a need of GST in India, you are required to write about the deficiencies of the previous system. Okay, so the next deficiency, that CST was another source of distortion, because it is in terms of cascading nature. Why it is cascading nature? Because students, it was non-wettable. That is, VAT and CST are not adjusted to each other. Okay, but now what is happening? I can say that GST is a cure for all ills of previous indirect tax regime, because whatever the deficiencies was there in the previous taxation regime, GST comes with its solution. So it means GST is a medicine for that all else. That is, GST is a cure for that all else. Okay. So students, now already told you all these solutions with the deficiencies in the previous system, but here I am doing only it in revisionary manner. Okay, so I am here only highlighting the headlines of this. First of all, student, in previous system there was a cascading effect because CST was non-vatable. Now GST has removed its cascading effect. In previous system there was so much kind of indirect taxes, so much types of indirect taxes, but now all the indirect taxes has been subsumed into a major GST, that is goods and service tax. Okay. Next is, what is the framework of GST which is introduced in India? Already told you. In India, there is a dual GST model. Dual GST model means, student, that at the simultaneously part, both our central government and state government are levying taxes on the supply of goods or services or both. Okay. So students, whether it is an interstate sales or whether it is an intrastate sale. First of all, interstate sales means the sale which is done in the different state. It means location of supplier is in one state. That is, supplier is located into one state, but the place of supply. Place of supply means that is the supply which where we have done this. The place where which we have done the supply is in different state. So it is interstate sale. But if both the parts, that is location of supplier and place of supply, are in same states, so it shall be interstate, intrastate. Okay, now student, write down these two words, and these two words are going to are you are going to use it in a very different you are going to use it in a different places of a GST. Okay, so it is going to use it in a very continuous way, so write it down here. Okay, now what will happening, students, that in student, there are basically different kind of taxes which we have going to learn about in it. So students, GST is actually a destination based tax. GST, just take out your register. GST is a destination based tax. Why it is known as destination based tax? This can also be come into your 1 mark question, that whether GST is a destination based tax or not. So GST is a destination based tax. Why? Now the question comes about this, because students, as I told you, that if location of supplier and place of supply are in different states, so so student, in that case it shall be interstate supply. And students, in case of interstate supply, there shall be IGST. Okay, because there are different kind of GST shall be there. All are the part of GST, but there are different kind of GST. Okay, so for that case, we are going to, the supplier is going to charge IGST. IGST means integrated goods and service tax. Integrated goods and service tax. Integrated, that is that means INTEGRATED, goods and service tax. Okay, so integrated goods and service tax, it is IGST is chargeable, is leviable on the part of interstate supply. It means, student and students, in case if it is in, if the location of supplier and place of supply in same states, so student, in that case it shall be known as intrastate supply. I am making these in the same chart due to lack of space here, but students, in your A4 register there are very much, there is a huge space, so make another chart for it. Okay, do not subsume it in it, because you are going to use these charts at your revision time, so do not subsume it in it. Just take the next page. Okay, that is, the location of supplier and place of supply are in same state, so they shall be intrastate supply. And student, in case of intrastate supply, the GST which is going to be chargeable shall be CGST plus SGST. Yes, both kind of taxes shall be there, CGST plus SGST. CGST means Central Goods and Service Tax, and SGST means State Goods and Service Tax. Okay. Now, student, if the place of supply are, if the states are of, if the state is particularly a state, so it shall be SGST, and if that state comes into a category of union territory, so it shall be UGST. That is Union Territory Goods and Service Tax. Okay, so it depends on the state. It will be in the case of intrastate supply. So it means, student, that GST is a destination based tax, because if destination is in different states, so it shall be uh, so the GST shall be leviable in the form of IGST. But if the place of supply is in same state, so GST shall be leviable in the form of CGST plus SGST or UTGST. Okay, it shall be UTGST, Union Territory Goods and Service Tax. Okay, so that's why we know we call GST as destination based tax. Okay, students are repeating, as this part is a basic chapter for your subject. It is a base model for your subject. It is a foundation of your subject GST. So if the foundation shall be weak, there shall be lots and lots of confusion in the complete GST. So if in case of any confusion, just solve your query first and then move to the next part. Okay. Now in the intro lecture which I have provided to you all, in that you have my mobile number. You can ask your queries from it. Okay, or you can ask it on email ID, or you can ask it by SMS, WhatsApp, on any mode. So student, that's why GST is known as a destination based tax which is applicable on transaction. GST in India is comprises of, first of all, there shall be CGST. Now, I have told you about all these points, so here I am only doing it in a revisionary manner. First tax, CGST, that is Central Goods and Service Tax. Now, student, central, as the name suggests, Central Goods and Service Tax is levied by a central government. Okay, as I told you that GST is a dual model concept. Now why it is known as dual model concept? Because both are government, whether it is central government or state governments, they are collected GST from the customer. Okay, so it is levied means it is leviable, or it is levy by our central government, and it is also collected by our central government. SGST, that is State Goods and Service Tax, it is levied and collected by the state governments, or if it is a kind of union territory with legislature, so it will be collected by the union territory with legislature. Okay, so union territory are of two kinds. First is union territory which has its own legislature, that is union territory with legislature, and the second is union territory which does not have its own legislature. Okay, so students, for your general knowledge, union territory which has its own legislature also falls into the category of states. Okay, so from the place where there is a location of supplier and the place of supply, if it is a kind of intrastate and that region is union territory, so we have to check that whether that union territory is with the legislature or without legislature. If that union territory is with legislature, so on that part SGST shall be leviable. That is, state government shall collect the revenue of it because it has its own state legislature. But if union territory does not have its own legislature, so in that part, state government shall not levy and collect it the part of SGST. Union territory government will levy. Okay. So it is levied and collected by union territories who are without legislature. Okay, because if it is with legislature, it will fall into the category of SGST. Now, the second kind of supplies is interstate supplies. On interstate supply, already told you with the help of an explanation that on that interstate supplies, it means if the location of supplier and place of supplier in different states, the GST shall be in the form of IGST. So in IGST is nothing special. It is basically a combination of the that is a total of sum total of CGST plus SGST or UTGST. It means what will happen? For example, if on a product there is a rate, there is GST rate, taxation rate of 18%. So if in case this product is in the supply of interstate supply, so IGST of 18% shall be there. But if it is a case of an intrastate supply, so what will happen? That that is, it is some total of CGST or SGST and UTGST. So what will happen, that CGST part shall be 50% of the complete tax, that is 9%, and balance 9% shall be SGST or UTGST, depending upon the condition, depending upon the situation. Okay, it means if the region is of state or union territory with legislature, there shall be CGST plus SGST. 9% CGST, SGST 9%. But if it is a kind where the state is not a union, the region is not of a union territory with legislature, it is a kind of union territory which does not have its own legislature. So there shall be the taxation rate at CGST 9% plus UTGST 9%. Okay. Next student is legislative framework. So students, before doing this part, just do one thing, that revise until yet, revise up to yet the part which we have done in this lecture, that is point number 2. Okay, revise till yet. In case of any query, feel free to contact me. Students, after revising the complete concept, because revision is must for your examination, for success into your examination. Okay, so revise till yet. In case of any query, just ask me. After that, move to the next lecture. Okay, thank you and have a nice day, students.